Hello, my friends. Welcome back to School Lead, to learn beyond. Find a quiet place, take a breath, and let's begin. Every day we hold objects in our hands, and we never ask where they came from. Today we look closely at one of them. But this is not only a history lesson. This is also an English lesson where you learn English simultaneously. Look at your phone, look at your screen. With one small touch, you can talk to someone far away. You can watch a video made minutes ago in another country. This feels so normal now, but it was not always like this. This is the story of the internet. Not a story about machines, a story about people. Quiet, patient people. People who dreamed of a world where information could travel freely. Let's travel back to the year 1950. If you wanted to send a message far away, you wrote a letter, and you waited. A letter from London to New York could take 5 or 6 days to arrive. Computers did exist in the 1950s, but they were enormous. One famous computer called ENIAC weighed about 30 tons. It filled an entire large room just to do simple mathematics. Every computer worked completely alone. No computer in the world could send a message to another computer. Each machine was its own silent, disconnected island. Then, on October the 4th, 1957, everything changed. The Soviet Union launched a small satellite called Sputnik into space. It was the first man-made object to ever circle the Earth. For the United States, this was a shock. A rival nation had reached space first. A new and frightening question began to spread through the government. What if one day the country's telephone lines were destroyed? What if all communication could be cut in a single moment? So in 1958, the US government created a new research agency called ARPA. ARPA's engineers had one clear goal: build a communication network with no single center to destroy. A network where information could always find a new path, like water around a stone. This new network needed a name. They called it ARPANET. In September 1969, its very first computer was installed at UCLA in Los Angeles, California. A second computer was set up soon after at the Stanford Research Institute, about 560 kilometers north, near San Francisco. By the end of 1969, 2 more joined, the University of Utah and UC Santa Barbara. On October the 29th, 1969, a student named Charlie Klein sat at the UCLA computer. He was ready to send the first message in history across this new network. The message was supposed to be one simple word: login. He typed the letter L. It arrived at Stanford. He typed the letter O. It arrived too. Then, the connection crashed. The first message ever sent was just 2 letters. L-O. Not perfect, not complete, but 2 computers over 500 kilometers apart had spoken to each other for the first time in human history. By the early 1970s, ARPANET was growing. In 1971, an engineer named Ray Tomlinson sent the first email between 2 computers. He chose one small symbol to separate the name from the computer, the @ sign, @. But a new problem appeared. Different computer networks began growing separately around the world. Each one spoke its own private technical language. 2 researchers wanted to solve this: Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn. In 1974, they published a plan for one shared language for every network to use. It broke information into small pieces, called packets, and sent them along the fastest path. This shared language was named TCP and IP, together TCP/IP. On January the 1st, 1983, a day engineers still call Flag Day, every computer on ARPANET switched to this new shared language all at once. By the 1980s, the network was alive but still difficult to use. There were no pictures, no easy pages to click, just plain text and complex commands. In 1989, a British scientist named Tim Berners-Lee was working at CERN, a science laboratory in Geneva, Switzerland. He imagined documents linked together with a single click. He called this the World Wide Web. Remember, the Internet and the World Wide Web are different things. The Internet is the network, the wires, the connection between computers. The World Wide Web is the friendly layer of pages and links built on top. In August 1991, the first website in history went online. Its address was info.cern.ch. Tim Berners-Lee made a generous choice. He gave his invention to the entire world, completely free. In 1993, a new browser called Mosaic let people see pictures on web pages, not just plain text. 1 year later, in 1994, a browser named Netscape Navigator brought the web to millions of new users. Through the 1990s, the Internet entered ordinary homes for the very first time. Families connected using something called dial-up through the ordinary telephone line. A typical dial-up connection moved at about 56 kilobits per second. At that speed, downloading one 3-minute song could take 15 minutes or longer. Every time someone in the house picked up the telephone, the connection broke. Still, for millions of families, this slow, screeching sound was their very first doorway into a connected world. In 1998, 2 students at Stanford University, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, founded a small search company. They called it Google. In the year 2000, only about 361 million people worldwide used the Internet, just 6% of the world's population at that time. Faster connections, called broadband, soon began replacing slow dial-up lines. New spaces for sharing appeared. Facebook launched in 2004. YouTube followed in 2005. Twitter arrived in 2006. Connection was no longer occasional. For many people, it became constant. In January 2007 in California, Apple's Steve Jobs introduced a new kind of device, the iPhone. For the first time, a full, real internet browser fit inside your pocket. Around 2009 and 2010, a faster mobile network called 4G began spreading worldwide, letting phones stream video and browse the web at real broadband speeds while moving. By 2025, more than 7 billion smartphones were in use around the world. The Internet had stopped being something you visited. It became something you simply carried. Today, in 2026, more than 6 billion people are connected to the Internet. That is about 74% of everyone alive on Earth. Still, about 2 billion people remain unconnected, most of them in southern Asia and parts of Africa, reminding us this story is still, in many places, unfinished. New networks, called 5G, now move data far faster than 4G ever could. In Singapore, one of the fastest countries for home internet, typical speeds now reach over 300 megabits per second. Behind the screen, your photos and messages travel to something called the cloud, not clouds in the sky, but vast buildings full of humming computers in countries like the United States, Ireland, and Singapore, working day and night. New systems, called artificial intelligence, now help answer questions, translate languages, and hold conversations directly inside the browser. The Internet is no longer just a network. It has become part of daily human thought. The story is not finished. Companies are now launching thousands of small satellites into low orbit, bringing fast internet to remote villages, deserts, and mountains that once had no connection at all. Scientists are also exploring something called quantum internet, a future network built on the strange rules of quantum physics, possibly allowing information to travel in ways never before possible. Remember this, the very first message ever sent in 1969 was not smooth or impressive. It was 2 broken letters, L-O, before the whole system failed. And yet, from that small, imperfect beginning, 6 billion connections grew. This is School Lead to learn beyond. Every story you hear here makes your English a little stronger. If this story about the Internet taught you something new, tell us in the comments what surprised you most. Thank you for being here. Take care, and we will see you in the next story.